So a while back, a company called Miyoo released the Miyoo Mini V2. It was a very popular, very small, retro handheld emulation console, but due to manufacturing and supply issues, they ended up running out of that small screen and had to discontinue it. So they brought along the Miyoo Mini Plus, and it seems like everyone is buying one of these. This is a few months old as of now, which is ancient in internet time, but you know what? A new retro handheld drops like every couple weeks it seems, and yet I'd say the Miyoo Mini Plus is still relevant and still worth looking at. So why are so many people buying this thing? Well, I think it has to do with the compact size, the familiar design, and the price. Most of the good, easy to recommend retro handhelds are going to start around $90 or above, but this thing is usually able to be found for only around $60. And thanks to Banggood.com who sent this one out for review, you can get the 64 gigabyte version I have here for $62.99 as of recording this video. It's available in black, gray, and white. There's also a purple version out there. You got your D-pad, your A, B, X, and Y, and your start and select, and you've got a menu button on the front. You got a power button on the top, which you can just tap while the device is on to put it to sleep. LED indicator lights right next to that. A volume rocker on the left. 4 shoulder buttons on the back, as well as a battery compartment under that because you can swap out for another battery if you get a replacement. Headphone jack, USB-C port, and a micro SD card slot on the bottom. The micro SD card I have here was included with this one. A lot of people recommend getting a better micro SD because the ones that are usually included are ones that will tend to fail after not very long. So far so good here, but I do plan to replace that eventually. Inside the box you're going to get a charging cable with no power brick and a screen protector as well as the wipes to clean off the screen. The screen protector is nice, but mine just looks bad along the edges. I don't know why that is. I have an Anbernic RG35XX, which is a similar handheld and also includes a very similar screen protector, and yet that one looks way cleaner, and I've only had that one a couple weeks versus a couple months here on the Miyoo Mini Plus. Could just be I didn't do a very good job of applying it here, but I did the same thing with the RG35XX, so yeah, I don't know. The buttons are really nice and tactile and responsive, no real issues with button presses, and it feels good. It doesn't feel cheap. It actually feels a little bit weighty, but not too weighty. It still feels good for portable use. This does use Nintendo-style controls in the menus where A is confirm and B is cancel. You can turn the music off if you want. This thing plays Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, NES, SNES, Sega Genesis, Master System, Game Gear, Neo Geo, WonderSwan Color, Neo Geo Pocket, PC Engine, a couple of Atari consoles, PS1, and various types of arcade cabinets. This 64GB version says on their listing on Banggood that it comes with 23,000 games. I don't know if that's true, but there are definitely thousands of games on here, except that there aren't quite as many individual games as there may appear to be. There's lots of games for sure, especially on Game Boy, SNES, and NES, except that there are sometimes 2, 3, or 4 different copies of each game under a different title formatting. It also does the thing where many of the games start with a number instead of a letter, so if you're looking for a particular game, alphabetical order is basically out the window unless you want to go way down into the further listings where they are alphabetical. Or you can press the menu button and use the search tool. Just type in the name of the game you're looking for. Now it's great that this includes PS1 games out of the box, but this 64GB version only includes 24 of them. There's some highlights like Bloody Roar 2, Brave Fencer Musashi, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Final Fantasy Tactics, Tekken 2, but there's classics missing from here like Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Metal Gear Solid, and Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, just to name a few, so if you're looking for any of those, you're gonna need to put them on here yourself. Performance has been great. Yoshi's Island and Bloody Roar 2, which can be some of the harder games for some systems to run, seem to run perfectly out of the box for me, and there's just too many games to try, all of them of course, but everything I have tried has worked great. Battery life has been very good. I can play games on it for a good while before needing a recharge. This thing does have a sleep mode where you can just tap the power button on top to put it to sleep like you would a Nintendo Switch or your smartphone, but the battery drains quite a bit while it's asleep, so it's kind of weird. I'd say the sleep mode is best suited for short spurts, like if you're gonna put the system down for a few minutes to go do something and then pick it back up. It's not something you're really going to want to leave powered on and put into sleep mode overnight. As for comfort, I'd say this is a great handheld for short 20 to 30 minute sessions. The vertical form factor looks great and is very nostalgic, but this thing is smaller than a real Game Boy, and our grown-up adult hands are bigger than they were when we played the Game Boy back in the day, so depending on your hand size, I'd say if you're going to go for longer gaming sessions on this thing, after a while you may be subject to cramping. For longer sessions, something horizontal like the Anbernic RG350 that I reviewed here a few years ago is much more comfortable. You can really get it into the meat. into the meat of those hands, and it works a lot better. But it's just not as cool and as pretty and as fun as the Miyoo Mini Plus, you know? From the main menu, you've got things like Recents, where you can launch the 20 most recently played games that you've played. Favorites, which is pretty self-explanatory. You can just go into the list of games that you have, press the menu button, and add to favorites, and anything you have in your favorites will be right there for quick access. Game is where you can go into the different systems that you can choose from, select one of those, and then you can go into the games that you have available and play those. Now these games use RetroArch in the background, and if you prefer to use RetroArch over selecting the game system you want to play specifically, you can go into RetroArch and select from the different emulators there instead, but it's going to be the same game lists and whatnot. Under app, you have things like a file explorer and different things in a language that I don't understand and haven't really messed with because I don't know what they do, but they are there. And under settings, you can do things like adjust your brightness, connect to Wi-Fi, adjust the color and contrast and whatnot of the screen, and change the theme. There's a bunch of themes you can choose if the one out of the box is not tickling your fancy. There's also something called Fixes, which just has an audio fix that is by default switched to on, and I'm not really sure what that's for, but I just leave it on because, I don't know, everything sounds pretty good out of the box to me. When you're inside a game, you can press the menu button to save state, load state, get into the RetroArch menu to adjust different settings in there. There's also something called NetPlay, which I assume it gives you a means of playing online with friends in certain capacities. Not entirely sure how that works because I really don't have anybody I can test that out with, but it's something there that you could mess around with if that's something that you'd like to do. Now this thing works great out of the box. From what I hear, there's something called Onion OS, which I've really been looking forward to putting on this thing to test it out and see how much it improves this thing, because from what I hear, it is sort of the better, more optimal experience for the Miyoo Mini Plus. It's just a slight difference and slight tweak to the interface and the performance, as well as some other things that I don't even fully remember off the top of my head. But I have yet to do that here because I wanted to show you guys how this thing performs out of the box. This thing is a great little handheld to take with you on the go. Just throw into your pocket or your carrying bag or what have you. Something to take out and play around with for a bit, or if you want to play through your favorites, it's great for that as well. Just be careful with cramping and make sure you rest and stretch your hands. If you're looking to get into the world of emulation, or you want to add an inexpensive but very good device to your collection, maybe you're familiar with this thing and you've been on the fence, I think it's worth it. Sure, it can't run GameCube and PS2 games, and it doesn't have the thumbsticks for N64 games, but this isn't a system that feels like it's for people who want to play those. At the price, the form factor, and at first glance of the button layout, you know exactly who this is for, and if that's you, I'd say it's time to grab one of these, and if you would be so kind as to use my affiliate link, then that would be greatly appreciated. Every little bit helps. Since Banggood sent this out to me, part of my agreement with them is that I'm only able to share the affiliate link to their listings, but if you want to purchase it from somewhere else, that's cool too. But if this video did help your purchasing decision, make sure you give it a like and let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think about this thing. Do you have one yourself? Do you have something similar like the Anbernic RG35XX? Do you have the small Miyoo Mini V2 or the V3? There's even a V3 out now from what I've heard, which, I mean, I thought they had run out of the screens, but I don't know. I haven't looked into that one too much. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Sorry for the gap in videos there, by the way. Of course, as I mentioned, I've been sick, and then before that I was working on a commission for a channel I edit for, Austin Eruption. Check him out, he's a good boy. So yeah, I'm hoping to keep the ball rolling with some more content and just keep my throat from collapsing within itself. So to do so, I'm going to end this video now. Thank you again for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, leave a comment, like this video, dislike it if you didn't like it, share with your friends, and feel free to watch another video that you see here on the screen. Alright, I'm out of here, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.